Andrew touched on some of these, but I'd like to elaborate on them. I believe this is truly remarkable. I believe human beings will make it far beyond the ether, having shown this indomitable courage thus far. And the evolution of the psyche taking place from within every modern human is shaping our world yet again. It's amazing what's happening. So much good is occurring, and the conversation is evolving rapidly through all of our tools. All right, let's get into the meat of this here. A few things to really talk about at this moment in time. What are we buying for the $1,000 a month for all? We are purchasing something indestructible, in my opinion. More time for each person in the world, in its grasp, to whom it can deliver from the current systems of human energy drain. You can insert whatever you want there. Anything that takes away from our ability to input something good and creative into this society and into this world that is pulled out of us from the mundane, repetitive continuation of chasing that check and finding your way forward just based on survival tactics alone. That's not where we want to be, I don't believe. So I think that this right here, it's priceless this time. And this actual $1,000 a month, it seems to promote human ingenuity at its core. As automation persists, we talked about automation earlier, people have to invent things to do and to be in some cases. And this mindset can rebirth this ability for each person to go beyond survival mentality and to find a place amongst the world's turnings. Everything that they think that they want to do or should accomplish out there, it's there for them to achieve if they can get, as Andrew calls it, the economic boot off of their throats, so they can start thinking in these other ways and mentalities. There's 24 hours in a day, you guys. 8,760 hours in a year for every human being, always. It's not a matter of who and what. It's every person. It falls under this rubric. Our purchase cannot be measured here. It's not here and now in the grand experiment for human betterment. It's excuse me. It's priceless when this uplifting of survival and bounty of beneficial mindset begins to produce the very best in the fields the very best of people in the fields that they truly want to be in. And then what? Then what happens? Then discovery, new tech, a vaccine, a wonder of intellectual advancements, anything that contributes to humanity from the newfound time that is a win for everyone from that moment forward, for all time, for anyone who is human. It will also recycle back value from innovation back into the VAT, the value-added tax that he's proposing, 10% across the board on all the businesses. So that would the innovations and all the possibilities that come from the creative efforts of the people who have now time and efforts under their control will in turn be put back into the very system that produces enough revenues or generates enough wealth that we can continue the process for more and creative things in the future. So this is the first thing that I want to talk about, this first argument that I kind of have to say as far as what I think is right for universal basic income. The measurement, and here, as far as where I talk about Answer Joe Rogan, it's what is the value of such an investment? Humanity saving, world changing type thing. He was asking that the other day, and very good question. He was curious if we can quantify it in some kind of measurement form, that we can make the argument through numerical decisions, and if we can find our way to say this is a plus or this is a minus or this is a good here but this is a bad here, as far as where we get value from the $1,000 a month, then maybe it would be easier to argue in this way. But it's fun to see these guys try to come up with their own viewpoints on how to figure out what they're looking at and what could be digestible in our current state of mind as far as people, and what is possible on the landscape. Give me a second. So I would like to say that, just like I explained before, or just like I talked about before, where the very amount of time and creativity that could be producing through this newfound avenue, and coupled with the ability to have less of the mundane and I would say physically killing or physically harming jobs, the ones that were would really bog down a human being after years of doing such a thing, that those things can be taken off of people's backs. This starts to become a reality, and to the value that it's put forth in the society, we don't have a measurement for that yet. We've never done such an experiment. We haven't tried such a thing with the resources, and there's never been a society like this where we could try this type of thing. So for us to say this would be not an experiment, it would be, but it would be not living in our reality. But the idea that we don't actually have the people, the intelligence, the tools, the wealth, the structure in place to do this, to try this, it seems like here and now is the best time to do this. It seems like we have this shit. It really has a place where we can do what we need to do. So if we're gonna make a future that speaks to something that values things other than the dollar amount you're worth, as Andrew talks about quite a bit, then this comes into a good position of reiterating why and how. So when someone does something that under the name of, under humanity, then that's all of us, and we all reap the benefits of this. Maybe here and now, the thing is, it's so funny because this alleviation from survival, we don't know what it could provide for each individual human. So for each individual storyline of each individual person, it could change the course just that much that they could impact everything around them just that way positively, that who knows, maybe a generation goes by before you feel their impact. Maybe it takes quite a while. It doesn't. There's no limit here. We don't have the means to measure this. We don't measure our people and our ways and our worth by this. So it's very interesting to go down these roads and avenues with ill-equipped for some of these areas. We can speculate, and we can extrapolate what we have. Harold, what's up, bro? I'm talking about UBI, Universal Basic Income. I'm talking about Andrew Yang. So let's go down another avenue here for Andrew Yang and them, and hopefully I can clip this part in. I want to talk about a long story short, really quick, because I want to talk about my own story, how 2 years of more time spent, the ability to spend more time working with myself and working with the resources out in the world, allowed me, like, through people, through mentorship of, like, these artificial communications back and forth. I mean, through watching people talk back and forth, like Joe Rogan podcasts, Impact Theory from Tom Bilyeu, a lot of Gary Vee. Tony Robbins is amazing. There's so many wonderful people out there to pay attention to, and there's a long list of these guys, which we're going to go through in another format. But the idea that I had time to be able to change who I was into a better person, to be able to contribute something to society, I can only imagine if I had $1,000 a month coming in. Because what I had to do, I had to slow my world down and spend some of the money that I had saved and kind of take some time for myself away from what I considered the normal daily life, and this was the way I had to do it. So this worked out for me in a way. So I can only imagine what $1,000 a month could truly do for other people in other situations of way worse than mine, than just didn't have a chance. But my friend did talk about a good thing, Marcus' story here. And this is what this means. He talked about a point where people out there don't get a skill. They don't acquire a skill when you give $1,000 a month. They just get $1,000 a month. So now their ability to indulge in whatever lifestyle they wanted to is becomes amplified and bolstered by the fact that you're giving them money. And this wouldn't be fair to the world and to reality if we didn't address that type of a storyline, because that's definitely true. And while all the things I've been talking about are a positive note so far, the reality is that there are going to be places and times where people are going to do what they do with what they want. I mean, I still have questions, this is an open-ended thing that needs to breathe. Like I said, we still have, what about all the homeless people and stuff? How do you get your check? Do you have to have like a residence, or not a residence, but place to receive? Like, there's going to be a lot of interesting logistics and things to be breathed out into this. But Marcus said that someone who goes out there in the world, works just to go home and drink beer on the weekends and not really care, or insert any lesser use of one's time there, and does this day in and day out, and now they get $1,000 a month. They're going to now drink maybe $1,000 worth of beer more a month. They're not going to do anything different. And he said that because they're not receiving a skill along with this situation, they're not being able to change and adapt to who they are or what's going to happen in front of them, the future and the turning times. I understand this. It makes perfect sense. It's logical, and it's the other side, the coin that people will naturally ask themselves, if not they're asking anyone else, So, but the idea that this is not going to be everyone should be stated, and the fact that we don't have numbers on this is where it gets rough, because how many people? Is this 60-40? Where are we? Are we at the 90-20? Are we the 90-10, 90-20, 90-10? Are we at the 80-20s? Like, are these are significant dips in percentages that allow for us to measure these things. So it's going to be difficult for us to acknowledge how bad of an impact it's going to go. But say someone does get $1,000 a month, and the first month they just spend it on beer and drink it. Then the next month maybe they spend it. First of all, spend $1,000 is a chunk. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they might spend like $300 on food and going out to eat and other indulgences they like to do that presents nothing to their worth or longevity. You know what I mean, as far as that goes. But then here comes this 1,000. month after month, year after year, relentlessly, tapping them on the back of the head, letting them know support is behind you. There's something here. You have an ability to do whatever you want. You have much more freedom in your avenues to choose choices worth your time and energies. And maybe it takes this person 5 years of drinking beer every month with their 1,000. Before the sixth year, they go, the 1,000's still coming. Maybe I might save some of this to do this because I kind of feel like doing this now. I want to start this job, or I want to buy this house, or I want to whatever their new founded. It should be up to the person to decide and to go through their aspects of humanity to figure out what's good for them. Some people on the other end of this are going to go 1,000 a month. Are you shitting me? That means I'm going to save this. The next 6 months I'm going to save it, and then I'm gonna put this down on this, and I'm going to start this business. Like, there's countless ways to slice the pie has been sliced, like I said. So I'd like to go into another thing about the 1,000 really quick. Kind of touched on something I said about what Marcus said, and we'll go back to his point because I think it's valid. You know what I mean? We're going to go into a little bit further, and I'll read chat. I'm not reading chat right now because I'm just trying to express all my thoughts. I'm going to go down this list a little bit. $1,000 a month is a mental reminder that everyone is loved and cherished by their government, as well for participating in this amazing experiment of democracy. Huge boost of inspiration could be acquired so that all people will be lifted up, and also people can also begin to retrace their roots beyond America when they get stable. And you know what I mean? People are from all types of places and all over the world. You know what I mean? And then who knows what parts of the world begin to be lifted up from this model of peopling. As far as a country provides dividends for its citizens, so they don't have to starve, and they can have a shelter base, and they can start to have their mind be put on other things that are uplifting in different areas, or whatever they deem is correct and right in the world. And all of a sudden, you have a generation go by, or whole groups of people who come from other countries. Maybe they're like myself. I'm the son of immigrants. My parents were not born here. I was born here. You know what I mean? My parents and my grandparents were born in Jamaica, and then my grandparents and people before them were born in China, India, Portugal. Some white Jewish man from England, I believe, is on my mom's side. There's a lot of mix-up going on in the world. We're so different, but so the fact that I can understand this from this point of view, that makes some sense to me, that these people might want to go back to their countries, or give back a little bit to their places, or go visit, or who knows what, invest in these, who knows. These ideas trickle down from all points of view. This is my point of view. This is what I talk about here because I want to try to bolster his argument, because I think that there's a lot to be said in this category that have yet to be discovered because we're still so new to the conversations. We really have not had it in the public discourse. So as people begin to retrace their roots, and who knows what parts of the world begin to be uplifted, then the mind is a wild thing, and we have yet to explore its many unknowns. You know what I mean? However, this jolt of positive, tangible, uplifting change could take the inwardly dysfunctional sides of people and begin to instill a real sense of comfort and pride, that along with new foundation that is the UBI that is now being built with the purchase of time for individuals, it could begin to rebuild people from the inside as well. So it has more effects than we want to begin to explore in the beginning. This is what I think, you know what I mean? So we're going to close with this part right here for now. Before I go into the other trains of thought, and I'm gonna jump into chat. So this one last segment was from another written. This part here from the most down. This is another segment that I had written separate from this one. You know what I mean? But I felt like I need to clip it and add it. So the most important viewpoint of the UBI experiment is we're buying back time for all people. This is the only way we know how to do it. People will have time to better themselves rapidly and uplift each other. This is the goal. This is the idea, with all the free knowledge and the resources that human beings are providing each other here and now, and the conversations that are constantly being spread. We have a chance here. You know what I mean? This is unlike any other time. This seems like the time to get down. So this time we're in is showing how many humans from child to adult are trying to figure out how to use the internet. This internet thing. And it's transcending our generational wisdom at the moment. The older generation knew, they would pass it along. Well, the internet, no one knows how to use this thing. And people are popping up all the time with all types of founded wisdoms from all types of the corners of the globe, for all reasons. They don't have to be passed in the traditional form. So if we can catch up the rest of all the older generation, the other folk, and in use of this wonder that is the global instant communications, the internet, then we have a vast untapped contribution to our world, just waiting to be part of it all. All these older folk, all the people who don't really use the internet right now, there's a lot of people you would argue that should not be on the internet, but it's up, this thing is so young and new, and we still are barely able to work it correctly. We're just barely there. So right now I think that it's an upside to try to help more people that we can who have a value to add. Anyone can add value to this thing that we're already in. So, sorry, half lost. More time means more ability to learn in self and out in reality. In self, I feel like there's two different universes. Inside of you, which is the story that you know always going on, and then out here, what is always happening around you. I feel like there's two things going on that are separate but together. They're parallel here. So pursuit of things that you enjoy doing with your time has led me to where I believe I found what I consider purpose or purposeful use of my time, and trying to get better at expressing what it is that I think it's happening. And it's led me to where I believe this is the right way of doing it for other people, not just me. Like if you kind of I joke right here. I say, is this not the way? But reality is like, how else do you do it? You spend time with things that you like to do and see what speaks to you until you can try to. And the way you do it is you have time to spend, which would be purchased by the UBI. It's like it's hard for most people to. Most people don't have time, or they run a second job to make where they need to be. Like there's a way that this is clearly impacting who we are and what we're doing here. So if you can, like I said, I go on. I talk about if you surround yourself with things you believe are worth your time out in reality, and couple with the time for yourself inward. That's the thing I talk about. Jordan kind of talks about a lot more. Then we find our true way. I'm asking. That's a question I propose. Like I'm wondering, how else do you find your way? It's the great question. Here it is. The problem of our time, as Andrew Yang illuminated once again, this purpose. The meaning, fulfillment question. Like how do you deal with that? If you were to not have a job where you derive most purpose, and UBI is supplementing you, and you're still feeling like worthlessness, like where do you find it? Like I think you find it here in these moments. Like you find trying to explore what it is you have to offer, and you use your time well.